Hi, and welcome to LinkedIn for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Julia Zata, a LinkedIn strategist and ghostwriter, and lover of all things practical when it comes to visibility strategies. This podcast is for service-based business owners who want to build their brand on LinkedIn, attract new clients, collaborators, and speaking engagements without overthinking every post or sounding like a corporate robot. And yes, we're going to keep it actionable and fun. Let's dive in. Today's guest is Colleen Nichols. She is the best-selling author of Don't Make It Weird, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Being Human on the Internet. Colleen is an attraction marketing expert and the founder of the Digital Sales Growth Community, where she helps social sellers increase their sales engagement and confidence without abandoning who they are. She built her brand on Instagram through the account No Shame Sales Game, growing it into a multi-million-dollar business. Today, she joins us to share her perspective on the current trust recession and why being human online isn't a branding trend, but it's foundational for any entrepreneur. I am so excited to have her on the show. This conversation was enlightening, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Hi, Colleen. I am so happy to have you on my show. It's an honor to have you as my guest, and I can't wait to talk about the trust
Oh,
recession.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. I'm flattered and honored, and I am so excited to chat about this. I think it's an important topic.
Yes. And it really got my attention seeing your Instagram post talking about it. I know that the data definitely supports your claim. I was looking up some stats from the Edelman Trust Barometer report that got my attention. For example, 73% of consumers say trust is required to continue purchasing from a brand. Another statistic is around 58% of consumers who advocate or buy from brands aligned with their values. So I thought this was a great way to introduce the topic of trust recession,
Yeah.
and I'd love to hear your definition of it.
Yeah, so I really think that the trust recession in my opinion is just the thought that like the 2020 effect has worn off. A lot of us either started businesses around 2020, 2021, or saw big booms in our businesses around that time. I feel like we could when I say we, I'm not saying that either of us did these things, but as a whole, I feel like people could get away with more by doing less. And at this stage of the game, this climate with, either in the world or on social media, you can't anymore. You have like people have to believe what you're saying and what you're selling, and you can't just say like, "Oh, I'm a coach. Here's a screenshot of the money that I made." And people are like, "I call BS." Like I don't that's not it anymore. I think for the longest time people were able to get by on performing credibility rather than earning trust, and that's where we're at right now. And a lot of people are realizing like, "Oh gosh, I've been performing like, oh, I have my content looks put together, the copy is good, the content's converting, everything's pretty, that's all I need, right?" And it's like, oh no, you actually have to they have to trust you, and you have to deliver something. So that's kind of where I'm coming at when I talk about trust recession.
And also, the data I found supports that again. It says that from 2020 onward, trust has been declining on the consumer end. They find more reasons to not trust brands, big and small. And I've definitely been burnt buying stuff like on impulse buys,
Sure.
even expensive ones, and then realized that I was totally had. And so I take a lot longer to decide, and I vet people that I purchase from more. And I'm sure pretty much everybody's doing the same now.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it in my DMs all the time, people who have spent thousands of dollars on, primarily coaches or programs, and they're like, I feel so duped. And then I feel so embarrassed or ashamed that I spent all that money. And then it's really hard for me to trust anybody. So there's that cycle, like, the cycle of grief or whatever. It's a cycle of got on the internet. It's like, oh gosh, I can't believe it. I'm so embarrassed and I'm so mad. And, so yeah.
And so I'm wondering, like, if trust is a prerequisite for buying now, what do you think that most entrepreneurs still misunderstand about how trust is built online?
I think that, again, kind of going back to that performative piece, because a lot of times entrepreneurs on social media, there's this gap between who they are in real life and who they are on the internet. They get the phone in front of them or the computer screen in front of them, and they get weird. They turn into a version of themselves that they feel like I have to perform. I have to be a caricature of myself. I have to be a different version of myself. And I feel like if entrepreneurs could kind of show the messy middle more than we tend to do, it's always like, here's my before and after, or here's the success that I had, or here's how great I am. The trust is built in the messy middle and showing people the stuff that you don't know yet, the stuff that you're learning, the stuff you're creating. And it could just even be things outside of business. Maybe I'm learning how to play the drums, and just showing you suck at something and like literally not know what you're doing, that builds trust with your audience. So I feel like entrepreneurs online miss the mark a little bit by thinking, well, I have to be professional. If I'm going to be an authority and a thought leader, everything has to be polished. And I wish that we would, as a collective, kind of turn that down a notch and just kind of be like, this is where I'm at. This is what worked. Here's what didn't. Or here's what I'm learning. Here's what I'm figuring out. Showing the process more than the polished final product.
I think right now social media is a lot more about process than anything else. Like a few years ago, it might have been
Yes.
more like distant, but now we want to be involved in somebody's journey. We're addicted to content where
Yes.
people are figuring it out.
Yes.
We don't want to be talked to. It's so
It's
boring.
so
Yeah.
boring. Like, I want to feel like I'm FaceTiming a friend. I want to feel like I know what's going on, because if you're just telling me, "Oh, this is the result," or "This is what happened," there's no emotional, like psychologically, there's also no buy-in from your audience because they haven't
Right.
seen the process. So getting that emotional and psychological buy-in is also very important in this time.
I'm wondering if you notice that people struggle more with this the older they are.
Mm.
Like, I'm about to be 52. A lot of my audience are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I feel like us older generations struggle more. We're more used to showing up in a way like, this is my website, this is my LinkedIn,
Mm.
and it's a more static image
Mhm.
of ourselves digitally compared to what's trending now, which is like being on a journey or
Yeah.
showing what we're up to.
Yeah, I think for sure it's a generational thing. And I think that people who are a little bit older than I am, it makes sense that they feel a little more cautious or a little more buttoned up about things, because you built your whole career not in this place. Like, so I want, first of all, people to give yourself a little bit of grace, because this is very new, and the only way to get better and more comfortable is to do it more. So I want to give grace to anyone who feels like, oh, now I have to, I've had a corporate career and I'm established and I've done all these things. And now I have to show up and try to be a content creator with like these 18-year-olds over here. I'm 38 for reference, but like, I can feel like I'm trying to fit in with a generation that's not mine. Like, for
Yeah.
me, I'm not trying to do the things that 18-year-olds or 22-year-olds are doing. So I really want people who are in that generation, just one step ahead of me, to like, that kind of shows the messy middle that I was talking about. It's okay that you don't know. It is okay to get online and be like, hey, I'm Sally and I built a corporate career and I'm really established, but this is really new to me and we're going to figure it out together. And I have an example about that. And I have a community, and I did a social media challenge. And I said, like, I've taught you guys, I'm not going to give you any prompts. I'm not like, but you're going to go out there, and for the month of August, you're just going to be consistent. And you're going to do it. And based on growth, we'll be like, I'll have first, second, third place winners, whatever. First place was a woman in her 70s. So, like, don't tell me that you can't do it. Like, her content went off the chains. Like, she was incredible. So, part of it's also like a mental game of like, I can't do
Yeah.
it, or I'm too old. False, false, false. I follow so many creators who are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Just have to have
Yeah.
fun with it.
I love that. I think definitely fun makes it easier to overcome your resistance to being visible. And then also another thing to consider is that when you do show up and just like you said, acknowledge this is hard for me. People really, they get on your side, they get involved, they appreciate that. And most people admire you just for showing up
Yes.
because the majority aren't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, social media can be a really ugly place a lot of times, but it can also equally be a really kind place. And when people see an authentic person saying, I'm trying to figure this out, people are going to be kind for the most part, because they are cheering you on. And it goes like, for any
Yeah.
process that where you are struggling in the beginning, people will cheer you on. So just try. Just try. It's hard. I get it though. It's hard.
You know what? Based on what we were just talking about, it reminds me of like TV series. Like I love TV series, and I always pay attention to the characters that I like the most.
Mhm.
And they're always the most authentic. It's never like the most put together person. They are always good at one thing and terrible at something else. And that makes me love them. And that's, how that works as far as getting audiences engaged on TV. And I think on social media, it's the same. It's the human component that people really latch onto rather than the finished product.
Yeah, it's always the one that's complex. Like you said, they're really smart or talented in one area, but then they're a hot mess express somewhere else, and they're funny and they're not polished and put together. And like also think about your friends in real life. Like the people who you are drawn to are not like you're not excited to go to lunch with someone who's like, everything's great. Everything's perfect, actually. My hair is never messed up. My skin is always clear. My outfits are always perfect. Like, shut up. I don't want to be friends with somebody like that. Like, when my friend's skin is clear and their hair looks great and like their outfit's on point, I love it. But also, I love when my friend can be like, I'm just wearing sweatpants because I'm not going to wear anything with a waistband. I'm like, I feel that too. You know what I mean? So people
Yeah.
want that multifaceted human approach on a screen.
Absolutely. I agree. Also mentioned in the introduction that you are the best-selling author of Don't Make It Weird, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Being Human on the Internet. And in your book, which I loved, I listened to it on Audible, you advocate for bringing your whole personality to your online presence to build community so that you can eventually sell without making it weird. And so could you give my entrepreneur listeners maybe some high-level tips as do's and don'ts as to how to not get weird on the internet?
Sure. I think one of the first ways that people make it weird is by only selling, right? So I'm only here to sell you something. I'm only here to tell you about my offers. I'm only here to tell you about my service or products. You turn into like an infomercial that people tune out. Like going back to, the whole conversation we've had thus far, there needs to be that human component. So I don't want you selling all the time. I do want you talking about things outside of your business. Maybe it's the TV show that you're watching or the book that you're reading or, a new brand of potato chips that you really like. That's the stuff that gets people to latch onto you. And I always think about this as trying to get my audience and community to psychologically open their wallets to me before they like financially open their wallets to me. So I'm a recommendation resource. I am constantly telling my communities online, try this, follow this person, read this, watch this. And so when they or buy this shirt, and when they buy the shirt, they're like, oh, I like this shirt. And they've psychologically opened their wallets to you and you've earned their trust without having to like sell them anything of yours. So then when you do say, hey, this product or this service is for this type of person and they fit the bill, they're more likely to trust you and buy from you. I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel nervous or skittish to like, well, if I talk about something else and they go spend their money somewhere else and they're not going to spend it with me. So not true. Abundance is key. And so I want you being a recommendation resource and asking for recommendations as well. And then, go ahead.
I was going to interrupt just for a second to say, and they also associate that thing they purchased with you because you recommended it, not so much with who made it, right?
Yes.
They think of you.
Every time, like, oh, this is the Colleen shirt. Or like, I was on a call the other day and people were like, I'm just so boring. Like, I don't even know what to talk about. And I'm like, talk about your refrigerator. Everyone has a refrigerator. Ask them, do you have a really organized refrigerator or do you subscribe like me to the push and pray method? Because you just shove it in there and hope that nothing falls over or spills or whatever. And people join in on that conversation. And then the next time they open their fridge, they're thinking of you. So it's like, how often can I be on their mind when I'm not in front of their face? So that's why I'm talking about, air quotes, silly little things like your fridge, or do you have a top sheet, or does the toilet paper roll go over or under? Because these little things are so relatable and in everyone's everyday life, they're going to be thinking about me when I'm not in front of them. And that is my goal.
That's so smart. And it's also something that we do naturally in person. Like we always pay attention to little details and we're like, oh yes, I do that. Or no, I would never do that, and it makes us closer to the people that we're already close to, knowing them in that way.
Yeah. And it also going back to like being a recommendation resource, it feels good when your friend says, oh my gosh, I love that necklace. Will you send me the link? Or, oh, I really love that lipstick. Will you send me the link? It feels good to say, oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's why I always ask my communities for recommendations too, because I want it to be a reciprocal back and forth. So that's also part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, that reciprocal piece is something that really stood out to me in your book. It's like it's a conversation, it's a back and forth. You're not just talking at people, you're talking with them, you're
Mhm.
listening as much as you're talking. And
Mhm.
that makes people feel heard as
Yes.
well.
Yes. It has to be a conversation. It has to be a back and forth. And that goes back to the performative piece, because if you are somebody who's only talking at your community or your audience, it's more of like you're on a stage performing rather than I want that virtual water cooler feel where we're all just chit chatting about what's going on. And that creates trust and camaraderie. And that is invaluable for a business owner.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you about your own experience as an entrepreneur who's built a multi-million dollar business online. How did you start? Tell us about how you started, where you are now, and what's next.
Oh my gosh, how I started with no big goals, I can tell you that much. I started with an anonymous Instagram account, and I started saying the things that nobody was saying out loud in regards to like sales and things like that. And in the beginning, I talked more towards like network marketers because that's where my background was before this. But I started there and grew my Instagram quickly, organically. I again didn't expect that, but it then served as the top of funnel for my community. So for the past 5 years, I've had digital sales growth community where I do live coaching every week and there's resources and trainings from guests and things like that. And that's been wonderful. And then my newest venture is starting in a couple of days. I'm creating a new space called Peer Mentors, where it's going to be a peer led networking space for established entrepreneurs to kind of learn from each other and also have a safe space to be like, what's going on? Is anyone else feeling this or whatever? Because I've noticed the universe has kept bringing me the same conversation with entrepreneurs of, oh man, I don't have anyone to talk to about this, good and bad. Because people who are successful as an entrepreneur often don't have a lot of other successful entrepreneurs in their lives. So saying to a family member who works a 9 to 5, like, oh, I had a $50,000 month or whatever. They're like, what the hell? Okay, braggadocious Betty. I just want to create a space where established entrepreneurs can learn from each other and not have that guru like leading someone from the front telling you how to do it. I think we're all smart enough to learn from each other at this point. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to pop any relevant links to that in the show notes
Okay.
so that we can direct people that way. But I wanted to say, like, as you know, I was a member of DSGC, your current
Yep.
community, and I really enjoyed those conversations amongst peers, just seeing what's happening in people's lives
Yes.
behind the screen.
Yeah.
And being an online entrepreneur is extremely lonely. And so having normal conversations and seeing what people are dealing with, also how they're solving problems in an organic way was amazing. So
Um,
I can really see the value of this next tier that you're
Oh,
doing.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Conversations are always, I feel like I could get rid of a lot of stuff inside of DSGC, but it's those weekly calls where people can have conversations that they find so valuable. So we'll see. I'm excited.
It's going to be amazing.
Thanks.
Oh, speaking of gurus, I wanted to ask you about the latest Tony Robbins news. I've been following just like from a distance. I have only read a couple of threads, but apparently it came out that he's MAGA and nobody knew that previously, something like that.
I'm like, how did you guys not know that? But yes, people are.
Right? I'm not surprised. I'm like, is anybody really surprised?
Right.
But I'm sure it's really affected his brand. You know, there's a lot of people who have either not taken sides or have taken political sides in America over the last few years, and it has impacted their
For
brands.
sure. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of Tony Robbins, like his lack of transparency
Yeah.
is gonna impact his brand negatively
Yeah.
because a lot of people are gonna feel duped,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, like going back to the stats that you started this conversation with. I mean, I know a lot of entrepreneurs are hesitant, nervous to speak out. I've always weaved social justice into my brand. So whenever I speak out, it's not as detrimental as somebody who never has. So I understand and sympathize with the fact that if you never have it, could be really scary. But speaking of threads, the discourse over there is that if you are somebody with a platform or a business and you're not speaking out about what's going on, then you are in favor or you support it. And if you do, then you don't have to say anything. But if you don't, that's when you kind of have to think about, is it worth kind of letting people know where I stand? Because if I don't want people to assume that I'm okay with what's going on in Minneapolis or, like that, you need to speak up. And it's scary. And, but people feel duped if they don't know where you stand at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I start to like feel strange about people who don't say it, who say like kind of something very kind of glossing over, or not something, exactly, something very generic that's like they're intentionally not taking a stance. I wonder if it's, because they have a large MAGA following. I just think that.
Yeah. I mean,
they don't want to lose people.
I mean, I get it. On No Shame Sales Game, a lot of my audience are conservative, Christian, what are things that I am not. But because I've never hidden that, the people who do follow me who are, different in those regards, decided I can deal with that. It's not a big deal.
Going back to that, I was really impacted once I was on a call and somebody who is extremely like on this other side of the political spectrum completely joined a call saying, look, my beliefs are completely opposite to yours. I don't share my location, my name, nothing, because I don't want, I've gotten death threats, this, that, and the other. But she shared her name and her location with all of us on the call. And I was like, holy crap, like she feels extremely safe in this space because any of us could, rat her out and cause some serious safety issues for her and her family. Yeah. And, she doesn't know who's in the community. So I was really impressed by the fact that she, put herself out there, like she made herself super vulnerable. And that was definitely like a sign that she felt the place was safe. And I was like, whoa, this is powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do believe that the internet, as wonderful as it can be, like I said, it is divisive by nature, and it's made us as humans believe that we are so far apart than we really are. And I think if you sat down and had a conversation in real life with somebody where you could have nuance and ask follow-up questions and you could hear someone's tone as they're speaking to you rather than reading it in a comment section, you would find that, okay, maybe we're closer than we thought. But again, on social media, we don't have that luxury a lot of times. So you do, if you're not saying anything, the assumption is being made. But that's so awesome to like have somebody like feel safe and, support it. And that's what I want. Like in my communities, I want people to feel safe, whatever side they're on, for sure.
So I'm curious if you have any last or final thoughts for my listeners to help them out. As you know, they have either transitioned from corporate into entrepreneurship or they are entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs even. Do you have any final words for them?
Yeah. Hang in there. It's to be completely honest, like I could tell you, like, it's great, everything. It's a weird time on these digital streets right now. And hang in there, lean into who you are and, obviously who you're for and who you help in your business, but also don't be afraid to share your human experiences as somebody who also owns a business. I think it's important to be a human with a business rather than a business that's trying to be human. So lead with like human-centered focus, and I think you'll be just fine.
Thank you. I love it. So where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at No Shame Sales Game, and my book you can get on Amazon or Kindle. But yeah, that's where I hang out.
Awesome. So I just appreciate so much you making the time for our call today. And yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Thanks for tuning in to LinkedIn for Entrepreneurs. If you found this episode helpful, please share it on LinkedIn or on your favorite social media platform. And if you really want to make my day, leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more business owners find this show. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.